When I was looking for a sim rig wheel, it had to be direct drive, and I did my research. Belt driven or gear driven just wasn't going to be acceptable. So back then, in the realistic price range, we had Fanatec or Moser. Now Moser was literally new to the market at that time, and it's the one I went for, but again the price was high and there were, and still are, compatibility issues. So Cammus reached out to me and asked if they could send me the Cammus C5 to review. After looking into this product, I have to admit that I was intrigued. A direct drive wheel that needs no separate base and an affordable price? What's not to be liked? Well, let's find out right after this. And Cammus have provided an exclusive discount for all Next Level Sim Gaming subscribers. Full details are in the links below, and use the code NLSimGaming. So let's take a look about what comes inside the box. So the first thing that struck me when opening the box was the fantastic build quality. The Cammus wheel comes with a carbon fibre effect and a number of buttons so you can customise those to your liking. Also included is the desk mount, and also comes supplied with a number of the quality cables. You've got the USB-C and USB-A cable as well. It connects the actual back of the wheel to your PC. Looking at the wheel again, the carbon fibre effect, it's also got an LCD screen with rev counter on there as well. And then turning the wheel over, on the I/O on the back we've got the USB-C inputs for the pedals, and we've also got the DC input for the power. And onto the pedals, so we've got the accelerator pedal and we've got the brake on the right there, and these also attached to a sim racing rig setup. So we're going to take a look at the Cammus software that comes supplied with the device. So once everything's connected and we have the software installed, the first thing we're presented with after going through a short calibration process is the active devices will show on the setup screen just here. Now we've got the CP5 pedals on the left hand side, so you can see we've got the accelerator and brake just there, and I've got these presently mounted to the sim racing rig, so it comes with the mounting holes as you can see here, but it also comes supplied with some rubber mats that just sit underneath as well, just if you're using it on the floor setup. We've got the C5 wheelbase. Now the actual direct drive mechanism is built into the wheel itself. I've never seen this before, and it's certainly one thing that attracted me to want to have a look at this when Cammus contacted me. And it's actually a really interesting proposition. In terms of space saving alone, it makes a lot of sense and really is very interesting. The C5 steering wheel, you can see just here in all its glory just there, and it has a really nice carbon fibre effect on the front of the wheel as well, and it looks very, very nice with nice blue LEDs on the front as well. On the right hand side we've got all the available games. Now this is very similar to the Moser setup, but a bit more intelligent. It actually shows you what games are actually installed already and the ones that are presently unavailable. Now on Moser it's just one continuous list, and you have to scan quite thoroughly to look for the games that you are trying to locate. On the parameters section of the software we have the ability to make amendments and changes to the device. So as you can see here we've got a steering range. Now this is very similar to Moser again, using Moser as a direct comparative in the respect that this would be, for example, Formula 1, and then we'd have GT cars. So it's actually the steering range in terms of high performance vehicle, and then as we go down the line we'll have more akin to truck vehicles, and then we can obviously then create a custom profile as we like it here, and we can then save that to the games that we are interested in. But if we choose American Truck Simulator just here, we can actually save that profile onto there, and American Truck Simulator is one game I'm going to be looking at in a moment. And then we can adjust the actual power, so in terms of the torque and the damping and lots of other variables just here, it's quite interesting. We can make some real adjustments there as well. So onto the actual devices page. Now I think this is actually really interesting. So first of all we have the parameters we can set just up here, but also if we actually make those parameter changes, I can actually feel on a live basis just by turning the wheel the difference just in setup just here. So if I adjust that to a wider range, you can see that range increasing just there, and it decreases with a slightly smaller distance, which we use for something like an F1 setup just here. So that's really, really interesting. Now if I make it change to a larger turning circle just like that one there, which would be handy for something like Truck Simulator, which I presume is probably the setting we're going to be using in a moment. That is really interesting, and I think that's a really unique feature. And then obviously we've got the ability to test the buttons. So I've been having a look at the buttons, and it shows you on the actual wheel which buttons are being pressed. And I love the little actual paddle shifts as well. They're just really, actually really nice and tactile. Very small, very non-intrusive, and I think that's really nice. So once again, there's some really interesting features already that I'm actually really liking about this wheel. Going on to the actual pedals, so the pedals, it obviously gives you the ability to set the minimum, which obviously we can set a dead zone if we wish. So I'm setting no dead zone in there at the moment, and then the maximum we can set just quite easily just by adjusting the levels just there. Same thing with the brake as well, so we can set a slight dead zone. Here, I'm just going to set a little dead zone there, because sometimes I like to rest my foot on the actual brake, which is quite nice. So just going to do that there, so that's fine. And then the maximum just there as well. So really, really simple to set up. Okay, so we're going to take a look at American Truck Simulator first of all, and there's a reason why I've chosen American Truck Simulator, because ultimately, when I was looking for a wheel initially, it was for both American Truck Simulator and Euro Truck Simulator 2. Now, a number of years ago, when I was looking for a wheel, I was looking for something that was affordable, and I looked at Facebook Marketplace, as you do, because there were a number of used alternatives on there. But one thing I did, which I really am glad that I did do, was I did a bit of research into various different types of wheel, and there are belt driven, there are gear driven, and there are direct drive wheels. Now direct drive is the one you need. Essentially it's a motor that's built into the actual base normally, or in this instance the base is built into the wheel itself, and it just gives you that more realistic sensation. Everything is far better, it's more reliable, and it generally is a far more realistic experience. Now, of course, I didn't just want it for American Truck Simulator and Euro Truck Simulator 2, I wanted to play some racing games as well. So we're going to have a look at American Truck Simulator first of all, because I actually thought to myself about me going back to that time, and I didn't have a fantastic setup back then. I didn't have a racing sim rig, so now I have the GT Omega Prime rig here. I had a desk setup, and I actually at that time wanted a wheel that would go on the desk. Now in the end I ended up getting the Moser R5 setup, and I actually then had to buy the sim rig to go with it, as it turns out. Now, we as YouTubers get contacted by companies sometimes, and they offer to send us products to review. And I've got to admit that Cammus contacted me, and they've been a really friendly company, really nice, and I'd never heard of them. And they said, would you like to have a look at our wheel, the Cammus C5? We've seen your channel, we enjoy what you do. And I did a bit of research before going back to them. And I have to say that I'm really, really impressed with the concept of this wheel. So, first of all, normally on a traditional setup we have the base that goes behind. I'm just trying to demonstrate that just here. And that on my setup sticks out quite substantially. It takes up a lot of room on the desk. And this, as you can see, it ends there. It basically is everything contained within this wheel. And I'm going to talk about the attributes of this wheel as we drive along. But it saves so much room on the desk, and I thought that was like an absolutely fantastic idea, but is it going to be as good as, is it going to work as good as a Moser or a Fanatec wheel? But let me talk about exactly why it has turned out to be a really pleasant surprise. Now, I just need to say this before we begin, so Cammus haven't contacted me and said anything other than, could you just do a review of our wheel? They haven't laid down any expectation or anything, and I would always present a review to be honest as to how I perceive the product to be. They've literally sent the wheel, and there's no financial reward from this other than, of course, there is an affiliate link, and if you do find that you want to order a wheel, it would certainly help the channel by a small commission. Obviously we get as a result of sales through that, and that's how it works on YouTube. And obviously, of course, it certainly helps us bring more videos and create more content for you. I don't ask anything else in terms of reward for this channel. So I'm going to start off by just talking about how it is, I've obviously set it up in the software, and I just showed you the software at the beginning. Just set it up in there. Really easy, really intuitive to set up. And I have to say, actually, first off about, if we talk about software, the software is absolutely fantastic. Really, really easy to use. And Moser could actually take some leaves out of Cammus's book with that, because there are some things in there that just make it so intuitive to use, and really impressed with that. First of all, even the download process of the software, everything's been absolutely fantastic. So it's got 2 pedals with it. It's got the accelerator and brake. Now you're probably going to think, okay, well, 3 pedal setup. I actually bought a clutch pedal to go on my Moser setup, and I've never used it, I'll be honest with you. I use the paddle shifts, and I use the brake and the accelerator. It's just, it's more of an annoyance than anything else, actually, now. So it's actually been quite nice going to a accelerator and brake configuration as well, because I just find it just made me realise I don't even use it, so therefore why have I got it? So I'm going to start the truck up, and first thing you'll see is you'll see the resonance on the engine, on the wheel there. So I've got the Tobii eye tracker. So if I move my head around, it'll make it easier for you to see what's going on. So if I look down, you'll see that the wheel resonance in line with the wheel on screen. If I turn the wheel around there, it's perfectly aligned with that. There's been a bit of resistance because we just actually sat. So I'll put 2 hands to turn that actually. We were actually just sat here not moving, obviously. So there's a bit of resistance in there. And the first thing as well I've got to say is that I actually thought that this, being a direct drive wheel with a mechanism built, I thought it's not going to be strong. But actually I've been really surprised so far. So I'm going to set off. We're going to have a little drive round on ATS.
Right turn ahead.
And we'll just talk about the attributes of the wheel and how it feels.
Turn right.
Now, I also have set the buttons up on the wheel itself, as I would do. So first of all, the buttons on here. So I've pressed the button on the wheel there. I have that set up as the indicator, as you can see. And we're at a stop sign, so I just need to have a look around to make sure the coast is clear. So we've got that button set up as the indicator, which is normal on ATS or ETS2, unless you've got the Moser stalks, the indicator stalks, which I have those as well. But on the subject of dials, so you've got an ample amount of buttons on here. You've got 2 D-pads, all the buttons on here, and one really interesting feature as well that you've got on here is you've got the dials on here as well. Now, you don't get dials on a budget wheel normally. Now, I have a Moser GS, which is a formula type wheel. It's quite an expensive wheel that goes onto the base. At that level, when you are starting to get onto the premium wheels, you'd normally get things like that. So that's a really nice to have feature on there as well. You've got the kind of traction control and adjust your braking, etc. So you've got those 3 turn dials on there as well, and they actually feel really nice as well. You've got a carbon fiber effect on here, and if I was to say how does it feel in terms of build quality, it's as good as Moser, and I can't say any higher testament than that, because it's as good as Moser but at a fraction of the price of Moser as well. Now, the wheel itself, again, the material feels exactly the same as Moser. It wouldn't surprise me if it was actually potentially made at the same supplier, perhaps, for better want of a word. Now, in America, we can turn right on a stop signal, so that's what I'm going to do. So feedback, which is obviously the important thing. Now, the direct drive mechanism feels fantastic. I'm getting all the feedback from the road, from the surfaces, and again, that's something you would set up within game as well. Now, it has a little cooling fan on the back here as well. So remember, the direct drive mechanism is actually built into the wheel. So under a driving game, for example, like Assetto Corsa or Automobilista 2 or F1 2025, whatever you want to play on this, of course it's got that cooling mechanism as well, which is really handy as well. There is no heat actually on this, and I've done a couple of drive rounds with this already. So the accelerator feels really nice in terms of resistance, and the brake also feels really nice in terms of resistance as well. again, there's nothing to complain about here. I actually came into this thinking, how good could it actually be? And I'm actually really surprised as to how good it actually is. So, again, on that build quality, nothing to complain about. It's absolutely fantastic. Now, it has the LEDs on here, which is for obviously speed, layout and configuration. You've also got the RPM lights on here as well. Now, I have seen those on, but not in ATS or ETS2. Now, I'm not too sure whether there needs to be a separate configuration file, whether that can be done through SimHub, for example. But I haven't played around with it too much. I actually have configurations set in there for my other setup, and I don't want to start messing around removing all of that. But it's really nice that it has that on there as well. These are nice additional features that you only would normally get on a more expensive setup. So build quality is really nice, the feedback is really nice, and as mentioned, out of the box everything was really well packaged. The instructions were very clear. I'm one of those guys that, I suppose you could say, the IKEA type guy who just doesn't like putting things together. And if we want to talk about horrors of putting things together, then the GT Omega Prime rig took me 2 days to do. Not because it was difficult, just because it was very involved. There's a lot of bits and pieces to it. It took me about an hour, being fairly methodical, putting this together. Probably take you around the same, I would imagine. And that was just really because I'm one of those people who like to read the instructions and make sure it's done right first time. And as you can see, solid as a rock. It's got a USB-C connection from the actual pedals to the actual back of the direct drive mechanism. And how that works is the wheel moves around the actual direct drive mechanism. So the direct drive mechanism is actually fixed and it's within this. So it almost like rotates on there. In case you're wondering how that works. You've got 2 paddles as well, and they're really nice and tactile, as you would expect. So we'll try those out in a racing title in a moment. So everything is really nice, and the button, I must say as well, but this is another area where Moser could learn something from this company. The on and off button, which is on the back of a wheel, it's as good a quality as those on and off buttons that we have just there. The on and off button on a Moser wheelbase is the sketchiest piece of plastic that's had me in a minor panic many a time, because whether that's changed or not, I mean, bearing in mind mine was one of the original units, but it's not good. This one, all the buttons are really well made, really tactile, and absolutely fantastic. Really, really good quality. Now, and I emphasize quality because I'm one of those people, I do like quality accessories, and there's no disappointment in terms of this. It's really, really nice in terms of quality. So again, the quality tick box is there. There's absolutely no issues in terms of that. And overall, it's just, if I was to do that blindfold test with this versus the Moser R5, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference. And it can't come higher praise than that, because remember that this is a wheelbase that costs far less than a Moser R5, which is the base level of sim
right
rigs.
Turn ahead.
But it's basically what you need. It's what it's what you need to get up and running. And if you don't even be looking at Facebook Marketplace stuff or anything like that, because you're going to be disappointed and you're going to walk away and you're going to want to get a direct drive system, because you'll do your research and you're going to want to get that. And this is a practical and affordable direct drive wheel that, I'll be honest, if it had been available back at the time when I was on the market for one, then I would have given this serious consideration and potentially bought this, because I think it's a fantastic idea and executed really, really well. And the only thing I've got to say about Cammus is get the word out there, guys. This is absolutely fantastic. Really, really is good. So for the community, and I'm involved with quite a lot of the ATS and ETS2 community, best community ever, for example. If you want to look at a excellent direct drive wheel, it's not going to take a lot of space up, but it's a good value proposition. Here it is. And for everybody else, let's dive into a racing title and have a look and see how it performs in a racing game. So guys, this is Automobilista 2 and this is on the Cammus C5. Now, I've got to say that this has really blown me away by how good this is in Automobilista 2. I actually have been playing Automobilista 2 quite a bit over the past few days. I've been doing another video on the Pimax Super and I'm pretty shocked as to how good this actually is. Now, first of all, I set the wheel up as a new generic wheel and the pedals as well, calibrated the pedals, and I was a little bit lazy. I utilised the existing force feedback settings from a Moser R5 and basically expected it to be less in terms of feedback coming back from this wheel, so thought that would be fine. Launched into the game and I'm actually fighting with the wheel. I really am. The feedback and the force feedback is absolutely far superior to the Moser. Now, another thing I've got to mention as well is that it's the hottest day in the UK so far in June at the moment. Unfortunately, can't have the air conditioning on because I've also got the sound recording here, and also I've got the RTX 5090, which is throwing out more heat than a bonfire next to me, as you can see, beading with sweat at the moment here. But the actual integrated direct drive wheelbase system that's built into the wheel itself, I thought that's going to struggle with this torque that this is throwing out here. Now, I did a couple of laps and I then felt behind the unit and there's absolutely no heat whatsoever. It's got a little built-in cooling fan actually. It's a little bit like a laptop type cooling fan and it works absolutely amazingly. And in the same scenario, when I was playing AMS2 using the Moser setup over the past few days, in the same scenarios, it was basically red hot. So what a fantastic design, first of all. Now also you'll see that the RPM lights are working here, look absolutely amazing. And also the speedometer is completely in line with the kilometers you see on screen. Oh god, I'm fighting with this now. Just around that corner there, I was too busy distracted there. Ugh. Really feels absolutely fantastic this, and I'm literally grunting away here because it's given me a real fight and I never expected that at all. It's certainly nothing I came into this game expecting to feel such amazing force feedback from a wheel. And it's even made me rethink now. I'm thinking, okay, maybe the Moser's not as good as what I actually thought it was and potentially needs to get a stronger wheelbase. But now we've got one, it's this. And in fact, I'm actually going to keep this on my sim rig because, for now, at least, because I actually am really enjoying it. It just feels really, really nice. Now, I'm not going to do a number of laps on this. I'm just going to just literally end the video in a moment because it's gone on for quite a long time already. But I just want to summarise by saying what an absolute joyous surprise this Cammus C5 has been. I was intrigued by it and it's satisfied that curiosity, and it's an absolutely fantastic bit of kit, this. It really is. If you are looking for a direct drive wheel, this has to be one of the top of your consideration list if you're looking for a good price and a sensible bit of kit and a decent setup. Sorry, I'm just going completely off track there because I'm too busy distracted talking. But again, I would highly recommend this. I really would. More details are in the video description. And once again, I'm going to end it here. And again, if you are looking for a decent direct drive wheel for a good price, this is one that really should be on your radar. So as always, thank you once again for watching. There are some links here to some other videos you may find of help. And once again, I'd like to thank you for all the likes, subscribes and shares, and every single one of those helps the channel. Until next time, take care and I'll see you again soon.